Good afternoon to everyone. Welcome to the second part of the ESAR standard sessions at MESROP, where we will introduce the autonomy levels for healthcare robotics. I am Edward Foz Villaronga, and I will be your host today. I currently work at the ELAW Center for Law and Digital Technologies at Leiden University, and my work revolves around understanding the legal and regulatory implications of the use of robots for society. And for today's sessions, I'm joined by my colleague Hadassah Drukar.
Thank you, Eduard. And hi, my name is Hadassah Drukar. I'm a researcher at the ELAW Center for Law and Digital Technologies at Leiden University. And my work intersects the fields of law, digital technologies, healthcare, business, and governance. Furthermore, I'm also the founder of The Law of Tech, an online platform that aims to prepare the legal world of tomorrow by educating on the implications of new technologies for the law and legal industry.
On the program for today's session, we will delve deeper into the topics of robotics and autonomy and provide a short introduction to the autonomy levels in general. Following, we will introduce the model of autonomy levels for medical robots, present the issues and pitfalls of that model, and then some examples of how we should address and solve these through a case study on surgery robots. Finally, we will focus on the implications of increased autonomy for the field of rehabilitation robotics and reflect on some of the legal questions that may arise within this context.
So autonomous robots are in a growing category of devices that can be programmed to perform tasks with little to no human intervention or interaction. As we have seen in practice, these robots can vary significantly in size, functionality, mobility, dexterity, artificial intelligence, and cost, from robotic process automation to flying vehicles with powerful image and data capturing capabilities. Autonomous robotics have the potential to improve operations, and they offer new opportunities to increase productivity, reduce risk, decrease cost, and improve data collection, particularly as customer expectations and volumes of packages, shipments, and orders reach unsustainable levels of traditional approaches. Moreover, increasingly, autonomous robots are programmed with artificial intelligence to recognize and learn from their surroundings and make decisions independently, making it even more likely that the future will be autonomous. But what exactly are we talking about when referring to autonomous robots? Now, precise terminology has always been important in order for us to understand the world around us. In general terms, definitions are called into existence to create more clarity and avoid misunderstandings when discussing a particular subject. However, not all concepts are easy to describe. For instance, consider the term emotion. Everyone knows what emotions are until really asked to provide a definition. Likewise, it seems that everyone knows what a robot is until asked to give a definition. Now, the definition of the term robot has taken different shapes and forms along different communities, especially in the engineering one. For more technical definitions, some authors use classical definitions such as machines situated in the world that sense, think, and act. Others, like the International Standard Organization or ISO, defines a robot as actuated mechanisms programmable in two or more axes with a degree of autonomy, moving in its environment to perform intended tasks. Here we already see the notion of autonomy presented, and this is an aspect that is also present in many other definitions allocated to robots. In this respect, Bertolini and Palmerini also gave a relevant definition in the context of the EU RoboLaw project in 2014, in which they also highlight that a robot is a machine that in its functioning is alternatively directly controlled or simply supervised by a human being, or may even act autonomously. And also the European Parliament defined the term robot in 2017 by taking into consideration a number of characteristics, among which the acquisition of autonomy through sensors and/or by exchanging data with its environment, meaning interconnectivity, and the trading and analyzing of those data. Now, to make it simpler, Foz Villaronga and Millard defined a robot as a movable machine that performs tasks either automatically or with a degree of autonomy. And here the term autonomy, which is also relevant to know, refers to the quality or state of being self-governing. As such, the term robot autonomy refers to a robot's capability to execute specific tasks based on current state and sensing without human intervention. And with this, a number of levels of autonomy can be distinguished, which define the robot's progressive ability to perform particular functions independently. Robotic autonomy varies extensively across different robot types, and it ranges from teleoperation to fully autonomous systems, influencing how humans and robots may interact between them. These ascending levels constitute a significant and essential aspect of contemporary robotics and human-robot interaction, and understanding this complex interaction becomes particularly important with sensitive domains, such as, for example, the domain of healthcare.
For the automotive industry, the Society of Automotive Engineers already established different automation levels to clarify the progressive development of automotive technology. CAE described motor vehicle driving automation systems that perform part or all of the dynamic driving task on a sustained basis. It provides a taxonomy with detailed definitions for 6 levels of driving automation, ranging from no driving automation in level 0 to full driving automation in level number 5. In the context of motor vehicles and operations on roadways, level 0 means no driving automation, level 1 driver assistance, level 2 partial driving automation, level 3 conditional driving automation, level 4 high driving automation, and level 5 full driving automation. Now, this level of definitions and additional supporting terms and definitions can describe the full range of driving automation features equipped on motor vehicles such as cars or trucks in a functionally consistent and coherent manner. These levels of automation apply to the driving automation features engaged in any given instance of on-road operation of an equipped vehicle. On-road refers to publicly accessible roadways, including parking areas and private campuses that permit public access. That collectively serves all road users, including cyclists, pedestrians, and users of vehicles with and without driving automation features. As such, although a given vehicle may be equipped with a driving automation system capable of delivering multiple driving automation features that perform at different levels, that level of driving automation exhibited in any given instance is determined by the features that they are engaged. Usually, the automotive industry refers to 3 primary actors in driving: the human user, the driving automation system, and other vehicle systems and components that they make the whole ecosystem all together. These other vehicle systems and components do not include the driving automation system. In this model, even though as a practical matter, a driving automation system may share hardware and software components with other vehicle systems such as processing module or operating code. The levels of driving automation are defined by reference to the specific role played by each of the 3 primary actors in the performance of the dynamic driving task. Role in this context refers to the expected role of a given primary actor based on the design of the driving automation system in question and not necessarily to the actual performance of a given primary actor. Thus, for example, a driver who fails to monitor the roadway during engagement of a level number 1 adaptive cruise control system still has the driver's role, even while she is neglecting it. Active safety systems such as electronic stability control and automatic emergency braking and certain types of driver assistance systems such as lane keeping assistance are excluded from the scope of this driving automation taxonomy because they do not really perform part or all of the driving automation on a sustained basis, but rather provide a momentary intervention during potentially hazardous situations. Due to the momentary nature of the actions of active safety systems, the intervention does not change or eliminate the role of the driver in performing part or all of the driving task, and thus are not considered to be driving automation, even though they perform automated functions. In addition, systems that inform, alert, or warn the driver about hazards in the driving environment are also outside of the scope of this driving automation taxonomy, as they neither automate part or all of the DDT or change the driver's role in the performance of the DDT. It should be noted, however, that crash avoidance features, including intervention type active safety systems may be included in vehicles equipped with driving automation systems at any level. For automated driving system features, levels from 3 to 5 that perform to complete DDT, crash mitigation, and avoidance capability is part of ADS functionality. However, while the Society of Automation of Engineers has established automation levels for automobiles by the standard JAE uh, 3016, however, no universal standards have been defined for medical robots yet.
Now, to stimulate discussion on this topic, Young and colleagues proposed a generic 6-layered model for medical robots' autonomy levels, depicting a spectrum ranging from no autonomy being level 0 to full autonomy being level 5 to bridge this gap. Now, to give a bit more insight into what exactly these levels of automation really mean, starting with level 0, this stands for no autonomy. And here, this level includes teleoperated robots or prosthetic devices that respond to and follow the user's command. So think, for example, the surgical robot with motion scaling. And this also fits in this category because the output represents the surgeon's desired motion. Then level 1 stands for robot assistance. Here, the robot provides some mechanical guidance or assistance during a task while the human has continuous control of the system. Examples of this include surgical robots with virtual fixtures or active constraints and lower limb devices with balance control. Then we have level 2, which is task autonomy. Here, the robot is autonomous for specific tasks initiated by a human. The difference from level 1 is that the operator has discrete rather than continuous control of the system. An example of this is surgical suturing, and here the surgeon indicates where a running suture should be placed, and the robot performs the task autonomously, while the surgeon monitors and intervenes as needed. Then we have level 3, which is conditional autonomy. Here, a system generates task strategies, but relies on the human to select from among different strategies or to approve an autonomously selected strategy. This type of surgical robot can perform a task without close oversight. An active lower limb prosthetic, for example, can sense the wearer's desire to move and adjust automatically without any direct attention from the wearer. Then level 4, which is high autonomy. Here, the robot can make medical decisions, but under the supervision of a qualified doctor. A surgical analogy would be, for example, a robotic resident who performs the surgery under the supervision of an attending surgery. And last but not least, level 5, which is full autonomy, also meaning that no human is needed. This is a robotic surgeon that can perform an entire surgery. This can be construed broadly as a system capable of all procedures performed by, say, for example, a general surgeon. The thing here, and what is important and interesting to note, is that a robotic surgeon, as such, is currently still in the realm of science fiction. Young and colleagues argue that for higher levels of autonomy, the ability of the surgical robotic system to respond to a variety of sensory data will need to be more sophisticated. And a key requirement for full autonomy will be technology that replicates the sensory motor skills of an expert surgeon. They say that with decreasing human oversight and increasing robotic perception, decision-making and action, meaning the traditional sense, think, act paradigm, the risk of malfunction that can cause patient harm will increase. At the same time, they also state that cybersecurity and privacy are also major issues to consider within this context. They stress that as the level of autonomy in these devices increases, the regulatory challenges will also change. Also, at the higher levels of autonomy, specifically at levels 5 and possibly also level 4, the robot is not only a medical device, but it's also practicing medicine. Now, interesting here is that the FDA, for example, regulates medical devices, but not the practice of medicine as such, which is left to the medical societies. Handling the overlap here is therefore challenging and requires orchestrated effort from all stakeholders. Young and colleagues highlight that the implications will vary for different levels of autonomy for different usage contexts, and that this is the key issue for medical robotics. Unlike, for example, autonomous cars, the spectrum of tasks, environments, technology, and risk is practically limitless. Most importantly, they also indicate that a framework that establishes general categories for these areas is an important first step. As the autonomous capabilities of medical robotics grow, most of the role of the medical specialist will shift towards diagnosis and decision making. That's at least what they state. And this shift may mean that dexterity and basic surgical skills may decline as the technologies are introduced, with implications for training and accreditation. At the same time, pattern recognition and self-learning algorithms will improve, allowing medical robotics an increasingly larger role in higher levels of autonomy.
Although a great step in investigating the different levels of automation outside the automotive industry, Yang and colleagues' model needs more detailing on how it applies to more specific types of medical robots, including surgery robots, rehabilitation robots, and socially assistive robots. Medical robots' embodiment and capabilities differ vastly across surgical, physically, socially assistive robots, or serviceable contexts, and the involved human robot interaction is also very distinctive. Socially assistive robots, for instance, interact with users socially, performing a task for the user, but physical contact with the user is very minimal. In contrast, physically assistive robots, for instance, upper limb exoskeletons, work towards a seamless integration with the user's movement, and surgical robots are collaborative robots that extend the surgeon's capabilities. Since these elements demand domain-specific concretization, in our work, we propose to tailor the model of Yang and colleagues to surgery automation for further discussion. Entitled A Human in the Loop in Surgery Automation, me, Edward Foss Villaronga, together with Pranav Khanna, Hadassah Drukarh, and Bart Kusters from the eLaw Center for Law and Digital Technologies, we recently published a short piece in Nature Machine Intelligence on the legal and regulatory implications of surgery automation. Our contribution focuses on how the complex interplay between increasingly autonomous surgical robots, medical practitioners, and support staff will soon complicate the understanding of how to allocate responsibility if something goes wrong. Based on the robot's capability and the surgeon roles in performing the desired task, surgical robots can be classified into different categories. The shared controlled approach, placed within the scope of level 0 and 1, refers to a surgical environment wherein one or more robotic devices work in a tandem with the surgeon. Here, the surgeon primarily carries out the procedure using a robot that offers steady hand manipulations of the instrument. Typically, the workspace then splits into several segments, allowing the system to behave differently based on different localization according to safe, close, boundary, or forbidden classifications. An example is when a surgeon moves a cutting tool in a tissue direction that should not be damaged. Following the shared control approach, the robot will apply the haptic force feedback that will grow stronger as the cutting tool comes closer to the fragile tissue, signaling the surgeon extra caution ought to be taken. The Yomi Dental robot by Neosys, for instance, is an example of a shared control surgical robot. The telecontrolled approach, also called master-slave, remote controlled, or telesurgical, corresponds to autonomy level 2. A human surgeon operates the robot from a close distance with no pre-programmed or autonomous elements. The surgeon, the master, telecontrols the robotic arms, slave elements, to which the surgical instruments are attached using a console, which is called master controller. Such robotic platforms are usually configured with an optical system and computer-aided motion stabilization with a plurality of sensors for providing haptic feedback to the surgeon. Typical examples of teleoperated robots are the Da Vinci and the Zeus platforms. The supervisory controlled approach is the most automated and corresponds to 3 and 4 autonomy levels. And this approach entails robotic systems configured to perform certain functions of the surgical procedure autonomously, with the surgeon being in a supervisory role throughout these moments of the process. In other words, the surgeon remains indispensable in devising a surgical strategy and overseeing the execution of the robot. These robotic platforms generally comprise multiple robotic arms equipped with different surgical tools and are often powered by artificial intelligence. Examples of supervisory controlled surgical robots are the Probot 17 and the Robodog 18 platforms. Today, most surgical robots are at level 3, conditional autonomy, and researchers are working on a hands-free robots to conduct soft tissue surgeries on animals such as pigs, although fully autonomous surgical robots in our model level 5 are a little bit far from reality. However, it seems that many equipment-related failures reported in surgical procedures can be attributed to humans, including incorrect configuration and settings, encouraging research to remove humans from the surgery equation altogether.
Now, all of this brings up the worry that human oversight will decrease if robot autonomy continues to increase. However, what we believe at least is that what decreases is not human oversight, if we at least understand oversight as overseeing, that is, supervising. With progressive robot autonomy, the human surgeon's active performance decreases while in parallel their oversight increases. Moreover, since autonomous robotic platforms rely heavily on sensory data, the medical support staff's role will remain integral and crucial for many functions ranging from patient positioning to port placement. Therefore, humans will not be eliminated in highly automated surgical procedures, but will continue to participate actively in either performance, oversight, or support. Thus, what the future holds for surgery automation is a complex interplay between humans and robots, where the roles and responsibilities will inevitably blur. In such a complicated ecosystem that involves different actors, including the hospital and the manufacturer, various degrees of robot autonomy, and an adaptive role of humans, meaning human surgeons or support staff, to surgery automation, understanding where faults or errors originated, determining causality, and attributing responsibility will, of course, be challenging. This is particularly relevant because despite the advances and benefits that surgery robots may bring to society, systems that exercise direct control over the physical world at the end of the day can cause harm in a way that humans cannot necessarily anticipate, control, or even rectify. Thus, no matter how efficient a robot is, it is unlikely that human oversight will decrease if safety is meant to be ensured in highly automated surgeries. And this nuance is essential, particularly essential, to avoid ascribing or extending responsibility to the surgical robot, which in the past the literature has repeatedly highlighted as a legitimate course of action in complex robotic ecosystems. Truly understanding the role of humans in robotic surgeries is essential to understand better who is responsible if something goes wrong, and in such environments, it is often inevitable that something might actually go wrong. The iRobot Surgeon Project, for instance, surveyed where the society perceives human surgeons as responsible for harms when robots become more autonomous. Efforts like these are essential because even in the most advanced surgical environments, surgeons and their teams will still perform multiple functions without a clear understanding of who holds responsibility. Therefore, an optimal framework on the use of surgery robots in which clear responsibilities are depicted is necessary to eliminate incongruity in procedural safety and prevent society from ascribing a disproportionate burden of responsibility to only one stakeholder.
This would actually contribute to the establishment of a bigger framework for healthcare robots, which is currently lacking. Moreover, current safety standards lack in adequately addressing the implications of the progressive autonomy of specific robot technologies, including those developed for healthcare purposes. Now, this is one of the issues that together with Hadassah, we have identified in the framework of Liaison, which is an FSTP project from the H2020 cover project that aims at improving robot safety standards and legal frameworks by providing policy and standard makers relevant knowledge about legal inconsistencies, new categories, or new safety requirements to update existing frameworks. This project focuses on three domains of application, among which personal care and rehabilitation robotics are part of it. And we have focused on several important aspects, such as whether which healthcare robots fall into the medical device category, or whether the concept of safety that has been traditionally been interpreted rather restrictively in physical terms is enough for the different human-robot interactions healthcare robots have. Now, in this workshop, we're also very much interested into understanding how the autonomy levels refer and are shaped in the context of rehabilitation robotics. To achieve its goals, our project liaison has been engaging with the wider community of stakeholders in different workshops and meetings to collect their expert opinions and help them make their voice heard in robot governance processes, including standard and public policy making. To us, bringing all stakeholders together to align their interest into making current and future robot technology safe to use is essential. In this sense, we would like to ask you now, how do you believe that the framework for progressive autonomy levels would look like for rehabilitation robots? What implications will this have for different stakeholder responsibilities? Thank you so much for your attention, and please do not hesitate to get in touch with us if you have any query, because we are very much looking forward to further discussing this topic with you.